You'll typically find a cemented basin there, hooked up to the village water pipes with a drain hole.
Clever water management built right in. What about the kitchen, the matbach?
Often outside the main room, maybe in an adjacent carved space or even a separate small karan. But like we said, cooking could also happen in the main room tandoor. Depends on the house.
And gazana for general storage.
Right. Smaller storage spots within the karan for keeping weekly supplies, handy grains, flour, legumes, that sort of thing.
Makes sense. Now, doors and windows must also be unique.
They are. Doors were designed for security, against animals or maybe enemies back in the day. So they're set inwards a bit.
And quite small.
Relatively low, yeah. About 1.5 to 1.6 meters high, maybe 1 to 1.3 wide. Probably tricky carving larger openings, mostly wooden doors, very few iron replacements.
And windows, how do they get light in?
Windows are usually higher up because the rock walls get much thicker lower down.
Ah, I see.
So placing them higher ensures at least some natural light gets in. They're mostly small, often 4-paned wooden ones, and recessed, set back into the wall.
Why recess?
Helps keep snow and rain out, a practical touch for the climate.
Okay, carefully placed for light and protection. Lastly, the latrines, a brizga. How did they handle sanitation?
It's tricky with the calcareous soil there. Pit latrines aren't really the norm.
So what did they do?
Mostly, the latrines are outside the main living karan, often built as 2-story structures.
2 stories. How's that work?
The lower level is for waste storage. Some even have 2 pits side by side.
Why 2?
So you can use one while the other dries out. Then the dried waste, mixed with ash from the tandoors, could be used as fertilizer on the fields. Quite resourceful.
Very practical. Were they shared?
Historically, yes, often shared between households, but now mostly private due to hygiene concerns. Though in really tight spots, maybe 2 households still share one.
Resourceful waste management indeed. Okay, let's step outside the houses. What's the village layout like? The paths.
The paths are basically natural grooves, worn down by water flowing over centuries.
Just natural erosion channels.
Pretty much. Though some steeper bits have wooden steps added to make it easier. You also see outdoor stone steps, sometimes quite high, but the locals navigate them easily.
And the spaces between the karan.
Can be very narrow, winding passages, adds to the unique, almost maze-like feel of the place.
Sounds like it grew very organically. I also read about fault lines.
Yes, fault lines actually divide the village into sections. They act as natural boundaries.
But also practical.
Yeah, they also serve as channels, directing rainwater, snowmelt, even wastewater down towards the river. A natural drainage system, part of the geology.
Geology shaping daily life again.
Yeah.
Let's recap some of the architectural wonders. What really stands out?
Well, the insulation is incredible. The karan walls, being so dense, keep the inside cool in summer and warm in winter. Minimal heat exchange.
Just natural climate control.
Absolutely. It's because the softer outer layers of tuff eroded away, leaving only the hard, insulating inner rock. And the stone itself is very resistant to the climate there.
Amazing. What else? You mentioned natural holes.
Right. You see these holes in the karan. They might be from trapped gases escaping when the rock first formed, or maybe softer bits just weathered away faster.
And now they provide
light and ventilation. Some openings aren't carved. They're natural features that were incorporated.
That's really clever.
And the layout, too. Most karan face south. Their clustered arrangement helps break the wind. Doors and windows are recessed, like we said, keeping weather out, but also creating shade and depth.
And facing south helps with sunlight.
Definitely. The village's northern slope means the south faces get full sun, and the wind usually blows east-west along the valley, helping with ventilation. It all works together.
A whole system in harmony with nature.
For sure. Most windows are on the south side for light and warmth. Hardly any openings on the north. And on the west side, the recesses are often deeper.
To block the strong afternoon sun.
Exactly. And remember the stables on the ground floor. Animal warmth rising helps heat the living spaces above. Kind of like natural underfloor heating.
Truly ingenious.
So those lower levels aren't always lived in, can be damp, dark, maybe algae growth. But some homes have these lovely carved balconies too.
Balconies. Carved out of the rock.
Yeah, in front of windows, accessed by narrow doors, usually on the south side. People put flower pots out, dry clothes. Their shape just follows the natural rock form. Very picturesque.
Paints such a vivid picture. Okay, what about the climate these folks live in?
It's high up 2,200 meters, so cool mountains, great in summer, a real resort feel.
But cold in winter.
Very cold. Autumn and winter see a lot of frost days, maybe around 180. Spring is cool too, so late spring and summer are definitely the best times to visit.
Right, avoid the harsh mountain winter.
Mhm.
How do people make a living there? What's the economy based on?
It's tied to the climate and geography. Animal husbandry is big.
Because of the pastures, high altitude.
Yeah, for altitude, snowmelt feeds natural pastures, so raising animals works well. They also do dry farming on the slopes using spring water.
And other things?
Orcharding, definitely. And making and selling handicrafts is important too. A mix of traditional livelihoods.
So if you visit, what souvenirs could you find? What's special?
Mountain honey is a must-buy. Really famous.
Honey, okay, what else?
Other foods like dairy products, mineral water, walnuts, herbs, grape syrup called dushab, almonds, and crafts like kilim and jajim rugs.
Glat-woven rugs.
Yes. And kalaki scarves, which are beautifully patterned. Dried fruits are a big regional thing too. And summer fruits like apricots, sour cherries if you're there at the right time.
Sounds delicious. Is there anything special during Nowruz, the Persian New Year?
Often, yes. They might have a handicraft exhibition near the entrance, showcasing local arts, batik printing from Asku, pottery, woodwork, weaving, glasswork, gemstones, local foods, dried fruits, and of course that top-quality Kandovan honey. A real showcase.
Sounds wonderful. Now, thinking about Kandovan today, is everyone still living in the Quran?
Life definitely continues in the Quran, but the population grew, so people started building other houses too.
Using what materials?
Initially, maybe rubble stone and mud mortar. More recently, especially after the Islamic Revolution, you see houses using stone, brick, cement, iron, mostly in the southern part near the entrance. A mix of old and new.
Why the shift to new construction?
Several reasons. Sometimes the current interiors can be damp or maybe not ideal for modern living standards, and you can't easily renovate or change the inside of a carved rock home.
Practical limitations.
Exactly. Plus things like low water pressure inside the Quran, being far from the main entrance or shops, difficult access to the river or spring. These all encourage building newer homes with more modern conveniences.
Understandable challenges. Are there threats to the old Quran themselves, environmentally?
Yes, there are concerns. Water seepage, pressure from the rock itself, temperature changes. These can all cause erosion and eventually even collapse.
And tourism.
That's another challenge. A big increase in tourists without enough infrastructure to manage them can damage the village. And that actually makes it harder to get UNESCO World Heritage status. It's a difficult balance.
Preservation versus access and progress. A constant tightrope walk. So for listeners thinking of visiting, best time is late spring, summer.
Definitely the best weather then. Avoid the cold and wet of fall, winter, early spring.
And places to stay. You mentioned staying in the rocks.
You can. Several guest houses offer that experience. And there's the Visit Kandovan International Rocky Hotel, apparently the world's third rock hotel, and the first living rock hotel.
A living rock hotel.
Yeah. Plus, many villagers rent out rooms in their own Quran. Gives you a really authentic feel, lots of options.
Sounds amazing. What about getting there? Costs?
Costs vary, of course. Getting there from Tehran is about 670 kilometers, maybe 7.5 hours driving. Petrol cost was around 210,000 toman in early 2024, for reference.
No direct public transport.
No, it's too mountainous and small. You'd typically go to Tabriz first, train, plane, bus, then get a taxi or local bus to Kandovan. Once you're in the village, you just walk everywhere.
Okay. And accommodation costs, roughly?
Early 2024 figures. The Lala Rocky Hotel was maybe 2.8 to 7.1 million toman per night for two. Guest houses were more like 670,000 to 2.7 million toman. Food costs depend on where you eat.
So a rough budget.
Maybe aim for around 2 million toman minimum for one night for two people, if driving yourself. But it varies, and definitely budget for some souvenirs. That, honey.
Got it.
Yeah.
Good practical tips. Anything else nearby worth seeing?
Yes, remember Hilavar? The underground village?
The one the refugees might have come from.
No, that's the one. It's only 2 kilometers away. Our source says it's just as amazing and mysterious as Kandovan. Definitely worth a side trip if you have time.
Another unique site right there. Really highlights the special nature of this region.
So wrapping up this deep dive on Kandovan, we've seen how it's this incredible product of volcanic nature shaped over ages.
And this unique rock-carved architecture, the Quran, still lived in today. A blend of nature and human ingenuity.
Absolutely. It really stands out globally because it's a living piece of history, continuously inhabited for centuries.
A testament to adapting and thriving in a really unique environment.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to consider. Think about that deep connection between people and their environment. Kandovan is such a powerful example of adapting, of thriving within a specific geological landscape. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, about the sustainability of these ancient ways of living in our modern world and maybe what lessons we can learn from places like Kandovan as we think about our own future dwellings.